Oh, hey. I've actually not quit the game, unsurprisingly. Obviously I didn't really quit, I was just not playing any randoms anymore, rather sticking to the ratings. But the reason for that was that we've had a skill-based matchmaking in place on the last update. But as of yesterday we got a new update again, which is getting us back to the old matchmaking, so back to farming damage. Of course, I fully understand that not everyone will be just as happy as I am about this, because for probably the majority of the players it was actually a good choice to go for the skill-based matchmaking while still making a few top players having a really bad time in the game and ended up in quitting many of them, including myself, or rather just playing ratings instead.
The new version sparked heated debates in our community.
If you're still not up to date with all the skill-based matchmaking drama, then I maybe recommend just checking out my last video. I did an extensive essay about the whole topic there. So we're actually getting into 10.8 now, and Wargaming is actually coming around the corner with a little surprise. You may call it an apology, although that would be a little bit cynical maybe. They are just giving you, and us, all of us, a free gift, including 5 premium dice, 500 gold, and also some boosters in some collect them all container, which just maybe does contain something, most likely just a bit of free XP, maybe even a tank for you. And by the way, if you're right here and watching this video, you will also have a chance of getting another 1000 gold. Nice. In total, there will be 5 of you getting 1000 gold. So all you have to do is just enter your nickname and ID in the comments down below. Another giveaway I'll inform you about later on in the video. But what else is the update 10.8 actually bringing to us? We are going to see some more changes of collector tanks being introduced, or rather premium tanks being transitioned over to collector tanks, which means, technically speaking, that Wargaming is allowed to nerf them now, because previously it's been the case that the premium tanks were just, they have the kind of rule that premium tanks are not getting nerfed. That's a given fact here in Blitz. They can potentially nerf, so, but Wargaming doesn't do so. So they are now giving the collector status to the premium tanks more and more. And many people have been quite furious about this, thinking that Wargaming would just nerf everything right now. But actually it's being the case that Wargaming is just making these tanks being collectors so that there will be balance options in the future. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything does get rebalanced immediately. That is actually a pretty good thing in my opinion, because we've got to keep in mind that back then when premium tanks were introduced, there were just a couple of them, and then there were more introduced and more and more and more and more, and all of them becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. But what happens if no one can actually decrease the level of those tanks anymore? Well, then the whole tier has to get better, or there cannot be any tech tree tanks anymore that are just average if the premium tanks always get better. So as an effect of that, then tier 8 would eventually be the same level as the previous tier 10 or so. And that obviously doesn't make too much sense. So Wargaming decided that they want the tanks to be balanced and that everything needs to be shuffled around a little bit. Another thing that Wargaming often does here is just switching from one meta to the other. As you may be familiar with, you're having a couple of tanks being really strong at any given time, especially at tier 10, this is very obvious. But after some while they do get nerfed a little bit, and then it's the time for other tanks to shine. And I think that is important for the game to still be interesting in the long run, so you don't just get too used to playing the same tanks over and over again. And also just you don't want to have to buy the new tanks just to have something interesting again, right? But along with the subject of switching the premium tanks to collector tanks came another problem, and that is that the collector tanks do give you gold in return for selling them. So effectively that was just completely breaking the economy of Blitz. If Wargaming was to just, let's give an example, if they were to randomly make every premium tank in the game a collector tank, just so that they could theoretically rebalance them, well, they would practically just give every single player a couple 100,000 gold, potentially, if they had all the tanks, into their hands. So if you're following my thoughts there, people were suddenly having tons of gold if they sold all the tanks that they were not using. Like I, for example, have dozens of tanks that I don't even use. I could just sell them all and I would be covered for the next years to come and would not have to buy any tier 10 tank from my own money anymore. So what Wargaming decided to do to just counter this issue was to actually say, okay, if you do sell a collected tank, you will have to spend twice the amount then in order to buy it back. That is something that many people were very dissatisfied about, which I can totally understand, because sometimes you're in a situation of just gambling for some tank and you're running out of gold and you're only having two options: either sell one tank or you buy some really expensive gold offer then instead of just waiting for some cheaper offer in the future potentially. So in that sense, just getting this extra gold for free was a really nice deal, but we've also got to keep in mind that it's kind of like an interest-free loan. So Wargaming was basically just lending out some money to us without actually asking for anything in return. And just think of some real-world example to counter that. You cannot just sell your car and buy it back later for the same price and then switch the cars every 2 weeks basically without ever having to spend any extra money on that. It is just simply not economical for any company. But what else is coming along with this update? Well, we do get a couple of PBR tanks again, like in every update basically now, and also we're getting a couple of camos, so if you're interested in that, then it might be very nice for you. I personally don't really care, but maybe it's something for you. And lastly, I would like to mention here, we do actually get a couple of events again. And I want to just point out real quick that the tanks that you can win, like the T-77, the Titan, and also the Centurion, are just some of the strongest premium tanks that we're having in the game at tier 8 at the moment. So if you're still a starter, then I highly recommend going for those tanks still. Oh, but what about the giveaway I was talking about earlier? Well, just keep in mind again, 5,000 gold, split up on 5 people for just putting the name and also the ID into the chat. But also there will be another giveaway for 1895 E6, which is actually my favorite tank in the game. So if you want that tank, then I can only recommend participating in that giveaway as well, which I will do on my Discord server. So hopefully you're going to get over there as well, just also allowing you to stay up to date with all the community stuff and also all the content that I put out regularly. Also, don't forget, if you still want to know more about the skill-based matchmaking, then watch my extensive video right there. Thanks for watching, see you on my next stream.